I sit here across from Eric, and I look at him with suspicion. And I wonder, could my friend be a lizard person? There are a lot of people in this world right now that have this belief that there are forces that be controlling our planet, secretly manipulating things behind the scenes, and that they are reptilians, reptilian humanoids.
Lizard people.
And anyone could be a reptilian. Anybody could be a reptilian. Anybody could be just there.
But Bill, I'm not popular enough to be a lizard person.
Well, anybody can be a reptile. And tonight, we're going to talk about some of the origins of this, where it came from, who you need to worry about. I even have a list of things to look for to help you determine if someone is a reptile.
Ooh.
Tonight, we're talking about the Reptilian conspiracy.
From a child born into this world, we are taught what to believe. Closed-minded we become, fearful to be deceived. Still we desire to know what lies beyond that locked door. The art of the storyteller, conjuring tales of legend and lore. History hidden, lost knowledge, things forgotten and the unknown. These are the things that direct us and will set the tone. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Nightmares on the Lost Highway.
Well, reptilians go by many names, or are called many names. Reptoids, archons, reptiloids, saurians, draconians, or simply lizard people.
Lizard people.
These are shape-shifting reptilian humanoids. Michael Barkun, professor of political science at Syracuse University, believes the idea of a reptilian conspiracy started with the works of Robert E. Howard. Now, that's a name you may recognize. He's the man who created Conan the Barbarian.
The Barbarian.
Of course, Conan doesn't seem very rooted in reality, and, well, neither do the lizard men. But he wrote a story called The Shadow Kingdom, published in Weird Tales, and it drew on the idea of lost worlds like Atlantis or Lemuria and referenced dragon men who had once ruled a mighty civilization, and he described his serpent men as humanoids with snake heads. They lived in underground passages capable of imitating humans at will, and could mind control humans, and they used these abilities to infiltrate humanity. Now, in 1999, British conspiracy theorist David Icke first wrote about the reptilian conspiracy. Now, he claimed these blood-drinking, shape-shifting humanoid reptilians feed on human emotions, and they control Earth from their underground bases by taking human forms and gaining political power to manipulate society. Icke has claimed many times that multiple world leaders are or come from reptilian-compatible bloodlines. Now, what does that mean, reptilian-compatible bloodline? Well, that means that they could become reptilians or become possessed by a reptilian entity, and that these interconnecting bloodlines have controlled the planet for thousands of years. And really, anyone could be a reptilian-human hybrid and not even know it. Now, among those that were influenced by or were reptilians themselves, the Merovingian dynasty, the Rothschilds, the Bush family, Dr. Fauci, world banking, Hollywood, especially the British royal family, who Icke insists are lizard people given the royal family's age-old practice of inbreeding to maintain their bloodlines and to keep the bloodlines pure.
Yeah.
There was also claims that every American president was a draconian reptile. Beloved comedian Bob Hope, musicians like Mick Jagger, Madonna, Taylor Swift, and Katy Perry, actors like Angelina Jolie. I mean...
Judge Judy.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And
Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, Zuckerberg is a reptile.
Yeah, I mean the guy looks inhuman. We agree on that. So,
and the reptilians are also behind such secret societies as the Freemasons, which we talk about the Freemasons a lot. They figure into a lot of stuff.
Those Freemasons, I swear, they're like a Jesse James story. If like Jesse James, if you talk to somebody, that man would have had to rode a rocket across America to hit all the banks and do all the things that supposedly he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very similar.
They are the Illuminati. They were behind COVID-19 as an attempt to weed out the weakest of the humans.
Well, certainly they were.
According to Icke, thousands of years ago, the reptilian beings from the constellations Orion, Sirius, and Draco intervened on planet Earth and began interbreeding with humans. Not physically, however, but rather through the manipulation of the human coding, or DNA. Ike states that it is no coincidence that humans have fundamental reptilian genetics within their brain. He also claims that the reptilians use the moon, which is a spacecraft and interdimensional portal, to project a holographic reality to aid in controlling humanity.
Well, we've talked about the moon is hollow.
In his own words, we are living in a dream world within a dream world, a matrix within the virtual reality universe, and it is being broadcast from the moon. Unless people force themselves to become fully conscious, their minds are the moon's mind.
I'm going to jump in here because this number may astonish a few people. According to an online page, The Guardian, published just a few years back, over 12 million people do believe that alien-esque lizard people, reptilians, somehow, whatever you want to label it as, do control and rule the majority of the banks, the government, and all this. Over 12 million people. That's considerable. Now, conspiracy theories in general are, I think, honestly, not necessarily bad. According to some psychologists who also study these, they also agree. One in particular, Rob Brotherton, states, if we were all completely trusting, it would not be good for survival. I can kind of see that. He's an academic psychologist and author of Suspicious Minds, Why We Believe Conspiracy Theories. And he says sometimes people really don't have our best interest in minds. And I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of those people out there that are here for the mighty buck. They are very self-centered, and Bill's life, my life, our family's life really means nothing to them.
Well, there are people. I used to joke that the people that own the company that I used to work for would say that if they get 5 cents more on a dividend check by putting a bullet in my head, I would be dead tomorrow.
Boom. Yeah. But it's when people leap from thinking their boss is trying to undermine them to believing their boss might be a secret lizard person, they might kind of cross that line that psychologists, say prudent paranoia.
And I mean, part of it is it takes the onus off of you. You're not the reason you're failing. Yeah. Someone else did it to you.
Right. How can I be to blame?
And to be fair, I sit here across the table from Eric, and I'll say that I believe in a lot of conspiracy stuff. I mean, I'm not like one of those wacky conspiracy nut jobs, but I think there are forces that don't have our best interest in mind, and
I totally agree.
It's all about the almighty dollar, and honestly, I wouldn't trust the government to do the right thing in most situations.
I would not trust the government in my safety and well-being. I absolutely will not.
Well, and going back to your survey there that you talked about, where 4% of respondents believed in the conspiracy, another 7% were undecided, which means almost 10% of responders either believe or
didn't really
believe
want to
it
say.
Could be.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you ask me point blank, I'm not going to, even if I believe in it, I'm probably...
kook!
Well, you might be a lizard person. That might be why you're asking.
Yeah. There are a lot of illogical ideas, to pick from. Around 66 million Americans believe that aliens did, in fact, land and or crash in Roswell, New Mexico. About 22 million people believe the government faked the moon landing. Around 160 million people believe that there is a conspiracy surrounding the assassination of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. So there's those loyal followers that are definitely out there. While aliens and fake moon landings probably trigger some eye rolls from a lot of the listeners and people, defining what constitutes a conspiracy theory is getting more and more difficult. This is according to Brotherton, the psychological study.
Well, really, the biggest problem is how many conspiracy theories have proven to be true.
True. So it's no longer a theory. So now it's factual. The government, for example, does sometimes conspire to do unspeakable things, such as the infamous 1930s, the Tuskegee Airmen, where the U.S. government initiated exams for untreated syphilis in African-American men. Researchers blocked the research participants from receiving any penicillin or, exiting the experiment to get any form of treatment. And the study continued until a media report basically was a whistleblower and called it out to make public. In the case, believing that the government was conspiring to keep people sick, beforehand that would have been thought just a
Well,
quack.
there was a time where people trusted the government.
Yeah.
They have our best interest, but man, those days
That's
are long
totally
gone.
accurate. I mean, that's a total accurate story now. Again, that was a conspiracy theory. But hey, conspiracy theories are a big part of what we talk about here on Nightmares on the Lost Highway. And, I'll wear that Target patch because I do believe in some of them, not all by any means. But this one I thought was very interesting. And when Bill brought this up as a topic, I was like, all lizards in. So signs to identify a person might be a lizard person. Now, I think Bill may have some, so he can chime in here. But number one, they've got a forked tongue. They might be a lizard person.
Mine don't go quite that heavy-handed.
Okay.
Predominance of green or hazel eyes,
Okay.
or eyes that change color, like that of a chameleon,
That's
or
my wife.
even change
My
size.
wife has eyes that change colors.
Also, blue or piercing eyes.
What about enhanced hearing or eyesight? Yeah.
I got blue eyes.
You got blue eyes.
Yeah.
Bill's confessing to be a lizard man directly across from me right now. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, actually, as I read the list, I was like, man, I can tick off a lot of these.
What about drinking human blood, allowing them to morph into humans?
Again, you went heavy-handed. Mine are much more subtle. True red or reddish-colored hair.
Oh, Bill, I can't believe you said that. Red hair makes you a lizard person?
What's a sign? It could be.
Wow. They lay eggs.
Whoa, hey. How about just a smile where the bottom teeth show?
How about if they have low blood pressure?
Now, that is on my list, low blood pressure.
Wow, okay.
Also, I have a sense of not belonging to the human race.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean...
How about those interested in space or UFO conspiracies and connections?
That is on my list. And I mean,
We
again,
both
look at
check
what
that
we
box.
do.
Yeah.
A deep compassion for the fate of humanity. I wouldn't see why that would make you a lizard person.
Yeah. A love of space or science in a big way.
I was in an advanced science class when I was in elementary school. Psychic abilities. There we go. I'll go a little heavy-handed too.
Oh, yeah.
Psychic
ESP,
abilities.
the third eye
things
kind
like
of
that.
thing. Yeah. A sense of not fitting in or belonging to the human race. You said that
It
one.
literally said that.
I think it's worth saying again.
Well, yeah.
Because I kind of feel that way sometimes myself.
The ability to disrupt electrical appliances. Now, I will say, when I worked nights and I would drive home, there was one street light that I drove by that always seemed to turn off.
My son does that. If he's in the car, we'll be like driving down the street and like the lights will just go off. Unexplained scars on the body.
Yeah, good that one.
I do.
How about contact with aliens?
Or someone who actually drinks nut milk rather than real milk.
Is that for real on your list?
No, it's not for real at all.
Because those are terrible.
I just
people.
added it, but seriously, does anybody like the taste of nut milk?
I've never had it. Again, I understand how you can get like cow milk and goat milk. I don't know how you get
milk a nut.
Wow, that sounded much worse than I think you meant it to.
Okay, we'll leave that there.
Now, are you done with science?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, well, if you take a look at some important people, according to certain observers and insiders, experts on the internet, I have in parentheses here, Obama can change the color of his eyes. He has documented low blood pressure. He doesn't need glasses or use hearing aids. He has an unexplained scar.
Oh.
And sometimes his teleprompters don't work. Biden has blue eyes, and his blood pressure has been described as, quote, healthy.
What does that even mean?
Not high.
Okay.
Sometimes he wears glasses, but not always.
Sometimes.
3 days after he took office, there was a spike of UFO sightings in his home state. He, too, has some unexplained scars.
Mm?
Now, not to pick on Democrats, Mitt Romney is said to have good blood pressure as well.
Uh-oh.
He has piercing clear eyes. And according to the New Yorker, he is in fact psychic. That seems like a weird thing to come from the New Yorker. Newt
Are you
Gingrich.
saying New Yorkers can't be psychic?
Well, the New Yorker, the
New
newspaper.
Yorker. I was like, okay. We just lost like 12 listening viewers there.
Newt Gingrich may be psychic. It is said that he is somehow connected to UFOs, and there have definitely been claims that he is an alien.
Definitely.
Well, yeah.
Where do these reptilians come from? Now that's depending on where you get your source from, internet air quote experts or articles. Some believe that they've always been here deep beneath the earth.
One of the things I read said it started with the Anunnaki.
Oh, I love that one, and I have read that one. Yes. Some believe that they're from outer space. You had mentioned the Orion, Sirius, the Draco systems. Some kind of clashed the two of those together and said they came from Earth, went to space, and now they've come back to Earth. So I guess because they have that third eye and they manipulate us, they don't want us to know where they come from. It's just kind of a big mystery.
Well, that would play into their plan.
It would.
If we knew about them and we knew the truth, then we
As
could...
G.I. Joe taught us, knowledge is
about.
power. Yeah, you know, so...
So, yeah, I mean, I guess it would play into their plans if we didn't know.
Those tricky reptilian lizard people.
Well, as I was doing my research, I found different incidents. And so I've kind of laid them out here chronologically, and I'm going to go through those. Things that have sort of pushed the boundaries, maybe indicated, maybe somehow revealed the truth here and there. February 2011, on the Opie and Anthony radio show, which is a good place to get your news and information. Comedian Louis C.K., who I'm going to make a note is problematic in his own way. So I don't offend his behavior or anything, but this is just, apparently he jokingly asked former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld multiple times if he and Dick Cheney were lizard people who enjoyed the taste of human flesh. Rumsfeld would not give a direct answer. Louis C.K. took this as admission of guilt. On March 4th, 2013, a video of a security guard at a speech being given by Barack Obama began to circulate on the internet. The guard was seen to have unusual features in the video, which many claimed indicated he was a lizard person. In 2014, a New Zealand citizen filed an Official Information Act request compelling New Zealand's Prime Minister John Key to answer the accusation that he was a cold-blooded reptile and did in fact have a forked tongue. Key responded, quote, "To the best of my knowledge, no. Having been asked that question directly, I've taken the usual steps of not only seeing a doctor, but also a veterinarian. And both have confirmed I'm not a reptile, so I'm certainly not a reptile.
He took it serious.
I've never been in a spaceship, never been in outer space, and my tongue is not overly long either."
What about Gene Simmons, though?
It's not forked.
It's not forked. Okay. We're safe.
Also in 2014, during the 70th anniversary of the D-Day landing ceremony, it was noticed that Russian President Vladimir Putin seemed to make efforts to avoid getting too close to Queen Elizabeth, including refusing to help her up a set of stairs. Now, Queen Elizabeth was an older woman at that time. Could have used the help, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
It was
definitely lizard people,
yeah.
though.
It was later revealed that he was avoiding the Queen because he had seen her shapeshift, describing her as having, quote, "a long reptile face, almost like a beak, and she is a sickly gray dishwater color." Here you go, Eric.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that.
In 2016, during Facebook's first town hall Q&A, a Facebook member asked Zuckerberg,
There we go.
"Mark, are the allegations true that you're secretly a lizard?" He responded with, "I'm going to have to go with a no on that. I am not a lizard." He then quickly ran his tongue across his lips and moved on to other topics.
I have heard and seen where he has kind of embraced that. In one news deal, he actually said, "Why, yes, I am."
In 2017, an Australian tabloid published a story claiming that Justin Bieber had been seen shapeshifting on stage by hundreds of fans.
It was just a dance. He wasn't shape-shifting.
Well, he denied these accusations, but according to the article, quote, "Bieber's head shrunk, his eyes went black with stripes down the center, he grew taller, and had gross-colored scales on his body. One fan present said, quote, "It happened so fast, but everyone saw it and started screaming and crying. A lot of people were running for the exits." I can't imagine there'd be a lot of screaming and crying at a Justin Bieber concert.
Well, he's got some tearjerker songs. So.
Well, and, little teenage fans tend to scream and cry when they are...
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
It could happen. It could happen.
Now we're gonna take a turn.
Well, hold on. You mentioned Barack Obama, and I did a little mini deep dive on presidents. You had mentioned presidents.
Well, yeah, virtually every president.
Every president, according. But Barack Obama, again, just maybe showing the lineage, possibly, inbreeding, however you want to put it. Barack Obama has a distant cousin of both past President Bushes.
Well, what is it? I think, was it like almost every president can trace their bloodline back to certain families?
Going back to Barack Obama again, besides the two President Bushes, other past presidents that he has lineage to is Gerald Ford, Lyndon B. Johnson, Harry Truman, James Madison, as well as Winston Churchill. Number two, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt is very distantly related to 11 other past presidents: Madison, both of the Adams, Van Buren, Harrison, Taylor, Grant, the other Harrison, Taft, and the other Roosevelt. I mean, his own wife, Eleanor, was technically his fifth cousin. Then you have number 3, according to genealogy specialists, if you go back far enough, Hillary Clinton and Trump are actually related. They're 19th cousins, but, they're still related.
Well, if you go back far enough, depending on what you believe, we're all related.
All
right?
related, yes. So at least Noah and the clan of the Ark there. So, with all that, it's just proof that maybe to some that there's some sort of alien or reptilian infiltration into the controlling and altering of the powers that be that guide the world as we know it. Or is it just the cold hard facts of that's the way ancestry works? Depends on who you ask.
Well, I know it's been a little tongue-in-cheek so far, but there is a darker side to this reptilian conspiracy. January 2019, a Seattle man called 911 after fatally stabbing his brother with a sword, stating, "God told me he was a lizard."
Oh, my.
The Nashville bomber who killed himself in a suicide bombing by detonating an RV in downtown Nashville on Christmas morning in 2020, an explosion which damaged 41 buildings and injured 3 people. Beforehand, he had sent packages to his friends that included letters claiming that lizard people were controlling the world. One that I found especially sad, in 2021, a California surfing school owner was charged with killing his 2-year-old son and 10-month-old daughter in Mexico. He thought they were, quote, going to grow into monsters, so he had to kill them, according to federal officials. And that conspiracy theories had led him to believe that his wife had passed down her serpent DNA to their children. He said he knew what he did was wrong, but that, quote, it was the only course of action that would save the world.
Wow, that's dark.
And, I mean, as if your average ordinary American believing in the reptilian conspiracy wasn't bad enough, in October 2022, Dutch MP Thierry Baudet, head of the far-right Forum for Democracy, said in an interview that he believes the world is being governed by evil reptiles.
Well, some professional beliefs, these are from the non-lizard people, just set the record straight. Some scientists believe this whole conspiracy may stem back to our earliest primal natures. It's encoded deep in our DNA, for most at least, to be fearful of snakes. I know for one, I hate snakes. Now a spider, I don't want one as a pet, but I don't care if it's a black snake, a garter snake. I won't kill it necessarily, but I was traumatized as a child growing up on a small farm, and I had so many black snakes drop down on me from the rafters, reaching in to gather eggs and feeling that, and it's like, that's not an egg. So I kind of get that, but the same applies biblically. If, it was technically the serpent or the snake that convinced Eve to, take a bite of the apple with Adam there in the Garden of Eden. It also would be plausible for our earliest ancestors to be fearful of snakes, some of which obviously can be venomous and deadly. Some people, even today, my grandfather was one, claimed that he could smell the scent of a venomous snake before actually seeing it. And I think you've even mentioned, like out hiking and stuff like that, you might smell kind of a sweet, almost like a tobacco smell. I know my grandpa, like I said, he would say when you're out in the woods, be mindful, watch your feet, but also smell, because you can sense those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of if you're in the woods and you smell cucumbers.
Yeah,
I've
heard that as well.
That's what a copperhead will smell like. So, I mean, the idea that you could smell a poisonous snake isn't far-fetched.
No. And these scientists believe that is why this particular conspiracy does make good sense and why it's taking such traction and such trends. We as humans are also very inquisitive. We are also generally untrusting for the most part, especially of people in high-ranking positions or power. What makes them so special? Why does everyone listen to them? Why do they seem to have the life of ease when many people obviously do not? So just like venomous snakes, some people distrust anybody that is kind of held to a higher standard, whether it be popularity or just being famous or whatever. And then we go back to the old phrase of, a snake oil salesman. So there's a lot of references of snakes. It's just kind of bred into us.
Well, and if you want to get, technical, I mean, we talk about the lizard brain, sort of that instinctual part of your brain that just kicks in sometimes. But I mean, do we have reptile DNA within us? Well, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of junk DNA in the human code that comes from other branches of that tree of life. And we do have encoded in us some small part of this lizard, this reptilian DNA. I think occasionally we're children born with like a scale-like, body covering. And as a fetus develops in the womb, it goes through stages where it resembles these other steps on the branches of the tree of life. So
I had a person once tell me, and I never even dreamed this, but essentially what is a womb? An egg sac, and the infant comes out of the egg. It's not really that much different. It's just whether you expel the egg before something of birth comes out of it, like a chicken or a human. I never really thought about it that way, but seriously, that's what it is.
Well, Eric, if you don't mind me maybe dredging up,
I am not a lizard person.
History here.
Uh-oh.
The time I saw you shed your... No, I'm just... No, actually,
while I was... tell you that on air.
While I was doing my research, I have to admit, like, as I was reading some of it, I started to think back. And you may remember the 80s a little bit.
Oh, I do.
You may even know where I'm going. There was a TV show, Eric. It was called V.
Oh, yes.
And it was about humanoid lizards that took over the Earth.
Oh, yes.
As a matter of fact,
the remake, but there was seriously back in the 80s.
There was a reboot or remake, whatever, not that long ago. But yeah, back in the 80s, the original. I remember
scary shit too. By the way, pardon my French.
I remember being absolutely terrified the first time. I think it was they accidentally tore the face, and there was a reptile underneath.
Yeah,
I ran out of the room screaming. Yes. Man, it was horrific. But I will point out, that was in the 80s. David Icke didn't publish his theory until in the 90s. I mean, maybe he grew up watching V. as well. And of course, again, you go back to Lovecraft. Lovecraft talked about serpent people living in underground tunnels, manipulating the powers that be. We talked about Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan the Barbarian, who wrote about these dragon men that lived under the earth.
I do like dragon men concept. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, there are certain versions of the story where the reptilians are more dragon-like with wings and things like that. But, I remember V and being terrified of it. But I've also seen this starting to happen a lot. I don't remember the actual name for the term, but it's sort of when they prep you for a thing by sort of talking about it in a way that's like not very serious. So like government conspiracy.
De-escalating it, kind of.
Yeah, to sort of prep you, or like all the current stuff that's
like
going on.
All the UFOs and
with the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of led me to wonder if like maybe, what if there were people that knew and they were trying to warn us back then? And I remember, I think Robert Englund was like the special lizard person, But I will also remember forever and a day that the main hero's name was Michael Donovan. And that was such a cool name for me. And I was nerdy to a point, and okay, bear with me because the next couple minutes of topic here are going to get super nerdiness. I went to a Magic the Gathering tournament in the late 90s, and I played Magic, and you had to record your names on the card so you could submit it for your DCI ranking back in those days.
Back in the day.
And I played against a gentleman by the name of Michael Donovan. And I commented, I said, it's a really cool name, and he just looked at me like I was an idiot. He goes, it serves its purpose?
Nerd.
He may not have even realized.
I like never even knew V.
But yeah, like V was a very heavy-handed alien, reptile takeover. So
I'm trying to remember when that came out. For one, there was a lot of advertising behind it. There was a big push for it, but it was almost like a mini movie series when it came out on TV. It wasn't like a TV series.
I think it was like 2 or 3 made-for-TV movies, and then they did a series.
Yeah, kind of like Battlestar Galactica started off with.
But it started off, it was either a mini-series or like a couple of made-for-TV movies, and then they did a series, and then it ran for a couple seasons.
And I am serious. It creeped me out as a kid. I wanted to watch it. I was like glued to it. It's like the old Planet of the Apes. It's just so creepy realistic, could be that it just caused you nightmares.
Oh, it was horrifying. And there's a scene where a lady eats a mouse, and it was just like,
Oh yeah.
ah. But yeah, the first time they ripped a person's face off, and you had like the reptilian eye and the scales. I was just like, oh man, I remember running.
Disguised
My
as
mom,
humans.
my mom had to calm me down before I could explain what had happened enough. So, like, and again, my mom didn't filter what I watched, so it was like, oh, it's a cool show about like aliens taking over the world, and then yeah, they're ripping people's faces off, and there's reptiles
I think my mom
underneath.
and dad was probably like in another room. They had no idea I was.
Oh yeah,
even
no, my
watching
mom was
this
in a
stuff.
different room and like was like, what freaked you out so much? But yeah, I mean, again, I believe that there is a conspiracy amongst people in power. I don't believe that they're reptilians.
I don't think it's because of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's because they're all reptiles, but I definitely believe. And I will say this. I believe that they don't function the same way normal people do anymore. I don't think their brains work the same way our brains work. I don't think they see the rest of humanity. I'm
going to say something here that if we were popular, we'd probably get us banned. But I know we don't have to worry about that. So
not yet.
To hear some of these, and I won't just label it politicians. It can be actors or anybody who come before the camera. And if you know anything about design and attire, they're wearing a $500,000 watch and, clothing that you and I would never dream of having. And they are addressing us on how we should have so much of our income saved and savings and all of this.
Oh,
They are so far out of touch.
the highlight of that, and I saw the video this week, Whoopi Goldberg on The View said she understands what it's like to be a working person because she works every day for a living.
Yeah, okay.
By spending, a couple hours talking to a bunch of people on and then going home.
Yeah, yeah.
If my job was that simple, I wouldn't consider it a job.
Yeah. I'd call that a hobby.
I'm with you. Like,
with benefits.
and we've referenced before the difference between the haves and the have-nots. And I would say we're squarely in that have-not category.
Absolutely.
I would think that most people that listen to us are probably squarely in the have-not category.
Yeah.
Regular, like rich people and politicians and people like that, people in power, people with money, do not understand what it's like for the rest of us. When they talk about, I saw a good video, actually, I think this morning. It may have been this morning, it may have been last night, but Bernie Sanders, who, I think everybody knows who he is.
Also considered a lizard person.
Also probably a lizard person, yes. He was doing like a town hall type thing, and he said, he said that the average life expectancy of a person not of means, a person that doesn't have a lot of money, is 5 to 10 years less than a person with money. Why do you think that is? And a woman stood up and she said, it's the stress that you live under.
I was going to say stress.
She said, she goes, I wish I could track it. She goes, I have the stories from my grandparents and my parents and the stories that I live through. And then I see what my kids are going through. And I wonder, why is the world so much more stressful now? And Bernie Sanders, he took back over at a certain point and he said, well, think about it this way. You go for a hike, you trip and fall, you break your leg. You go to the emergency room. That's $10,000. He goes, I've heard stories of people being charged as much as $10,000. But bare minimum, I'm case I made an ER visit not that long ago. I think the last ER visit I made was $1,000.
Yeah.
At least.
And
this one will
cheap.
probably be about the same because they had to do some tests. I did a CT scan. It's probably going to be $1,500 or more. For a celebrity who can make that kind of money in a day,
nothing.
That's not a big deal. I don't make $1,000 a day.
No, and you even have insurance with where you work.
I have insurance that I pay for.
I have personally no insurance. So, to even take that a step further, I've said jokingly, but I mean it seriously with my wife. It's like, don't you take me to the ER unless, it's like a matter of life and death.
Well,
because I'm going to have a heart attack worrying about how to pay for it.
And I absolutely get that. So again, when you talk about the alien conspiracy, the reptilian conspiracy, I get that we want the people that are above you in station are different from you. It is easier to dehumanize them and say they're not people because I don't think most people want to believe that there are people in this world that don't care whether you live or die. We'd like to think that as good human beings, we care about the next person.
Right.
I will tell you, I care about the next person.
Yes.
I don't want to see someone get hurt. I don't want to see someone injured. I don't want to see someone die. I don't want to see them in poverty. I don't want to see them struggle. I feel bad for that.
Regardless of who they are, what walk of life, beliefs, whatever. Nobody, yeah.
But there are genuinely people in power. The Zuckerbergs, the Musks, the Bezos, they don't care if you live or die.
I'm not even sure if we merit a number in some of those
Yeah.
people's eyes.
Or, somebody talked about the scale of money. Like, if you see a quarter on the ground, you'll stop and pick it up. It's a quarter. For Bill Gates to do that is basically my yearly salary.
Yeah.
If he sees anything less than that, that's not worth picking up,
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't understand them.
We can't comprehend
We
it.
can't comprehend who they are. So it's very easy to look at them and go, well, they're not human.
And I will say, I mean, I become, I think it's an age thing. As I get older, I become resentful to see that type of stuff on TV. A former president's wife came out a couple years back, and you may know where I'm going with this. She flew in on her private jet to make this announcement and, to share with the world. Something had happened. It was a disaster. And she was addressing those people who many were without homes, who were, in very bad ways. Again, with probably a $40,000 watch, multiple bracelets, rings on every hand. Did I mention she flew in on a private jet? And she is addressing, we will get through this. You just have to have faith. And I understand faith. I get that. Lady, set your ass back down in your little private jet. You are so far disconnected. If you cared that much, you would take off one of those bracelets and donate it to make a real difference to the people who need it.
I believe it was Elon Musk that once posted on Twitter or whatever, back when you could still call it Twitter, that if someone could show him how to end poverty, he would do it. And he was presented with a realistic plan that would only be like 15% of his net worth.
Yeah, 15%.
And it wasn't worth it to him. 15% of his, what was it? Bill Gates. I saw him on TV the other day. And someone said, you could get rid of 99% of your fortune and still be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And he's well,
so much.
Actually, it was like $1.4 million he would still be worth. 99%. Something like, it's like, you and I will never comprehend that.
No, can't.
And I can't begin to imagine the changes it makes in you when you're like that. And again, it makes it so easy to look at them and go, well, they're not human anymore.
Yeah.
They're not.
They are
now,
not human
whether
anymore.
they're reptiles or no, I don't feel like they're part of the same human race we are. The 1% are definitely a race unto themselves.
Yes.
And this has been our rant on wealth distribution in society.
It may or may not have anything to do with lizard people.
I think it does. I really think it does.
But I think it does establish the connection. And you just said it. They may not be reptiles, but they're not human.
They're not human like us.
No way.
Because again, I think if I stood between Jeff Bezos and $1 million, he'd kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
you
think
wouldn't have a chance.
If there was a politician and me alone, my voice would silence that politician and keep them from achieving power, they'd kill me.
Been nice knowing you, Bill.
It's cold. That's some cold-blooded thought, isn't it?
Yes.
Very reptilian in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and if they kill you, you have really low blood pressure, I might say.
Yeah, well, I have high blood pressure, so I'm pretty much not a reptile. And I'm also extremely warm-blooded, so not a reptile. So maybe we are reptiles.
Maybe we are.
Maybe we are.
Let's go to headlines.
Maybe reptilian propaganda in our headlines.
So there is a new lizard movie that I discovered that came out in February of this year. Didn't even know, but doing the research for this, and perhaps like myself, many of you missed it. But according to IMDb Online, the title is The Legend of the Lizard. Now, when you talk insurance, there's one legend who everyone has a story about. The Geico Gecko.
Are we going to... Really?
Legend of the Lizard.
That's a movie.
That is a thing.
You're right. I missed it.
Chronicles the career of this world-famous spokes creature. It features unaired footage and unforgettable interviews from colleagues and customers, the result of a stunning portrait of an icon who changed the coverage of the game of insurance forever.
Oh, this is the dumbest thing, Eric.
It stars the Geico Insurance caveman that if you're old enough, you might remember.
Oh, no, the cavemen are making a resurgence. I've seen commercials.
Played by Jeff Daniel Phillips. And of course, the original Geico Gecko, played simply by himself. Misty Monroe as the coworker, and Leslie Tessina, played by Leslie Jackson. Now, it is only a 15-minute mock documentary about Geico, the gecko, Geico gecko, Geico gecko,
The Geico gecko.
the insurance company's famous spokesperson, creature, I should say, not person.
Yeah, don't be a species.
Species, a signer. The film was released on YouTube and TikTok before the Super Bowl and was supported by actually 4 30-second spots that aired during the pre-show. The documentary features interviews with colleagues, customers, and unaired footage, as I had said, to provide a portrait and a more in-depth look of the gecko's career. So there it is, the short and the sweet of it, but yet another example of lizards in power, this time helping you with insurance and saving you money
15%.
to do it. Save 15% or more. I couldn't resist.
My headline is almost is ridiculous in its own way. From reptilians to shape-shifting Justin Bieber. 5 bizarre claims Danica Patrick made on her Lizard People podcast.
Lizard People Podcast.
This is from pinkvilla.com by Ananya Kesh, June 26, 2024. In an episode of her podcast, former race car driver Danica Patrick, and she's absolutely the expert I'm going to turn to for all things important, delved into the world of conspiracy theories with guest Elizabeth April, an alleged alien communicator and self-proclaimed expert on extraterrestrial phenomenon. From reptilian overlords to cosmic vibrations, these were 5 of the most bizarre claims made during the single episode.
The single episode.
Just this single episode. Number 1, reptilians control humanity, as we have talked about. According to Elizabeth April, reptilian beings have been controlling humanity for centuries. Yes, we know this.
Mm-hmm.
She claims they invented money as a tool to control us and maintain their power. Certainly does seem to dominate our lives. She says they're not happy with the current shift in global energies. Well, none of us are.
Yeah, get in line.
But she says that humans are gaining power and higher vibrations, and that makes the reptilians increasingly fearful. She insists that the Galactic Federation, a group of benevolent extraterrestrials, has declared that Earth belongs to humans.
I love that.
Even though the reptilians were here first. Number 2, the uprising of the new Earth frequency. April predicts humanity will go through an uprising of the new Earth frequency between 2024 and 2028. Significant shifts that will elevate the planet's vibrations will characterize this time. She says many reptiles are transmuting into the light or dying as a result of these higher vibrations, thus changing into a more benign form. She also asserts that humanity is regaining a level of power not seen since the days of Atlantis, because these energy waves are striking our galaxy and raising these vibrations.
Wow.
Yeah. 3, celebrities and politicians as reptilians. She claimed many celebrities and politicians are actually reptiles in disguise.
Of course.
Among those she mentioned are Adele, who we didn't mention earlier, and Justin Bieber.
There we go again.
She predicted that in the next 4 years, these celebrity reptilians will be forced to reveal their true forms due to the increasing vibrations.
Well, it'd just be like ripping the mask off on stage.
Tearing the face. And
just tearing the face and exposing one eye.
And then I'll run out of the room screaming again. And those who refuse to show their reptilian nature will transmute into the light. So things are going to get better. We're getting rid of these pesky reptiles. Number 4, cosmic disclosure in the Galactic Federation. She asserts that the government is aware of ongoing cosmic disclosure, and whistleblowers have confirmed the existence of the Galactic Federation. She believes UFOs and aliens are real, pointing to videos from the 1940s as proof. And according to her, humanity is an experiment designed to end the universal war. It's nice to know we have such noble fate. Our planet is what they call a prophecy planet. April
I thought you were going to say a prophet planet.
No. Yeah. No, we know what we do to those people. April also mentions that she communicates directly with the aliens in the Galactic Federation who have shared their advanced technology and knowledge with her.
That's very nice.
I don't know why they singled her out. Simulation theory and quantum physics. In another mind-bending claim, April and Patrick discuss the idea that our reality is a simulation. April stated that humans did not evolve naturally, but were engineered by various alien races. And she cited quantum physics, specifically the double slit experiment, as proof of this simulation. If you're unfamiliar with the double slit experiment, I literally saw a video this week that had nothing to do with my research, strangely enough. I saw the video before I saw this. But it has to do with if you take water and you put a plastic divider with a single slit in the middle and you make a wave, that wave hits the divider, and in that slit, it comes out the other side, and then it continues as a much smaller wave. And it hits the same place. Like if you if you had a slit and you shot a paintball gun at this wall with this slit, most of your paintballs on the other side are going to end up in the one place. Do that with 2 slits. If you shoot a paintball gun, those balls will make roughly 2 of the same pattern.
More of
However,
a focus.
if the wave goes through, well, the wave hits those double slits, the wave remains almost unchanged when it comes out the other side. And based on the visual that I saw, the 2 smaller waves that come out just simply recombine to become the much larger wave again. So it seems logical if you think of it that way, but apparently it confuses some folks. But also, according to April, when people die, they return to the source, I say with air quotes, and reincarnate in a new simulation. She emphasizes the importance of maintaining a high vibrational frequency to manifest one's desires and positively influence the planet's energy. I simply don't know how to vibrate, I guess. Or maybe it's something you do subconsciously.
There's probably an app for that.
Yeah. Now you have me tempted to pull out my phone. Like, what's the app?
How does one vibrate properly?
How do you vibrate properly?
That might lead you
I don't know
down
if I want to
some
do that
X-rated
search.
versions. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we come to our question aspect. So Bill, if you were a lizard person.
If I was a lizard person.
If you were a lizard person. And somehow you were able to control or manipulate people to do whatever you might dream up or wish, what would you do and how would you go about it?
Well, first of all, I'd be rich. Like, that's where you start, right?
Well, it's like you got to check the box before you
manipulate other people. You're going to get money.
Rub tails with the high rollers up there.
Well, again, I think you're working from a human mindset, and you'd like to think that you would do things that would be beneficial for mankind.
Yeah.
But then again, if I was a cold-blooded reptile, I mean,
the disconnect happened.
Just, an unlimited pursuit of power. I'd probably run for some kind of political office or something. Apparently, anybody can do that these days.
Apparently, yes. I love the way you slipped that in there.
I'm sorry. That was...
Well, for me, to your point, perfectly, yeah. If we made the ascension to a reptile person, I'm not sure we would still be able to have the thoughts and the feelings. So you kind of obliterated my whole dream here, Bill.
I'm sorry.
Just right in front of me.
You had an answer
in moments. Well, I was thinking, I would like to try to influence people to be open-minded and not so easily offended with everything. To value each other's beliefs. Even if we don't agree, we can still be friends. As the old song goes, why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
I don't know that you should do that very often.
Well, I didn't use my lizard voice. But to your point, yeah, if I made it up to the reptilian, would I really even care anymore?
As someone who edits your audio, you have very sibilant S's.
Ooh.
So you may not be entirely human.
I may be a lizard person and not even know it.
Well, according to the research, that's possible. You might be a lizard person and not know it.
Wow. I do have scars that I don't know about. I have high blood pressure, though.
Yeah, high blood pressure. That's my problem.
I'm
just going to be straight to the point here.
Be blunt.
Have you ever met a lizard person?
I don't know after this episode.
Could be anybody, but I mean, have you ever met a person that
I've met some really
just...
creepy people that, looking back, I guess they could definitely be. I had a kid in school that he showed up for one of those for 6 or 8 months, and he just vanished. He moved here, moved away. I swear his eyes had more slits than a pupil.
He showed up and he went back to Draconis.
Maybe, but he wore these prescription sunglasses, and so it was kind of one of those things you wanted to look, but you really didn't want to look. And then he wore these glasses, and he was allowed to wear these sunglasses in school, which I thought was really weird. But it was supposedly some medical, reason. But yeah, you'd look over at this kid and he'd be wearing these glasses. And every now and then it was like he would just F with you. And he would take his glasses off and he would look. And I swear he had the weirdest iridescent eyes. And I won't say they were a true slit, but they definitely weren't a normal pupil.
Yeah.
We're not talking just the color. He gave me the creep.
I have absolutely met people in my life that I've seen it. I've seen the phrase in literature with a smile that didn't reach their eyes. People that they just, I want to say felt slimy, not in the physical sense, but the mental, emotional sense. They just weren't like normal people, just cold and and don't respond to things the way normal people would respond to them. I'd say you and I have worked with people like that.
Mhm.
I know that we've worked with people that had that.
I was thinking the same thing. I've been in some meetings, and some of the things that people would like vocally say, and
Yeah.
it was almost like they caught themselves without getting into the details.
Yeah.
But like we get into some personnel issues. Bill and I were both managers, and you'd be like coming to your manager with a very serious issue, maybe with a team member or whatever. And one time I just had one of them just look at me and start laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is no part of this that's funny. But yet I was kind of terrified to the point of like, what is going on here?
And in a situation like that, you don't know how you're supposed to react. They think it's funny, and you're like, this was something serious. Like, I need this problem addressed. And
They're just like,
or even just and I've heard this many times, and I know you've heard it too. Well, just fire them. Just get rid of them.
Just fire him. Just get rid of him. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a cold-blooded comment.
Very calloused.
I mean, I have a particular name in mind. I will not say it here. I will mention it when we're done, and you can see if you agree with me. But yeah, there are definitely people that you meet, and their sense of humor is just off.
Yeah.
Or they just seem disconnected from humanity in a way. Like, I've definitely met those people. And that comes...
You leave those meetings, and you're like, what am I, like you said, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I, you didn't give me anything. You laughed at me for bringing it to you.
Anybody who can find any kind of pleasure from anybody else's misfortune, including ending a person's job. I mean, as a supervisor, you and I have been involved in that many, many times.
Yeah.
And you and I have known people that absolutely took a weird pleasure in that, even when it was deserved. I can go home and rationalize. I can rationalize to myself, anybody that lost their job, either through attendance, performance, whatever, it was something that they did.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I still didn't feel good about it.
Oh, no.
I
didn't look forward
what I
to
did
it by
was
any
the
means.
right thing to do for my job. But I hated seeing anybody lose their job.
Yeah. And I can truthfully say I've never had to terminate someone that I couldn't justify they deserved.
No.
It wasn't ever like that.
Now, I've definitely been on the receiving end of a termination that I didn't understand.
Yeah. We're in that same club.
Yeah, I mean, to go back, I know we've been very tongue-in-cheek with this episode. We've kind of downplayed this. But I do stand by that, when you have so much money, so much power, there is that disconnect, and those people don't feel human. When you meet someone with a lot of money or political influence, whatever, I don't know, in your life you may have met people like that. I haven't had the opportunity to meet very many.
Right.
But people with money feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're around them, they act different. They seem different. The origin of the reptilian conspiracy may be 100% fictional. There may not be reptilian humanoids out there drinking blood and eating babies, but,
there's definitely those out there that you and I are struggling to purchase a house through payments, and they tell you in passing that they're going to go to their fourth house in the Bahamas or whatever, and you're like, how does that
Here's a
work?
good anecdote. And I'm going to try to phrase this in a way that it can't be. I know a person who works a regular, 9-to-5 type job, not making, outrageous money, $20 or less.
Mm-hmm.
And a person of authority at that job came to them and was complaining that they had to help move a family member to Spain, and that they were only going to get to spend a week there. They would like to spend much more time, but, part of that time was going to be spent helping that family member, and then they were going to have a couple of days just for themselves to do the touristy stuff. And then, and they were like, yeah, we're only going to be able to spend a weweek over in Spain.
Dang.
To which this person responded, gee, I feel sorry for you. You can only spend a week in Spain. And it was like, it was like that person didn't even realize. You're talking to someone who will probably never have the opportunity to
never
go
even
overseas.
see Spain. Yeah.
And you're acting like, oh, I wish I could spend more time, and it's like, those conversations, and I've been a part of them from time to time. You have too, I'm sure.
Yes.
They're so uncomfortable for someone who does not have.
Right.
When you have someone say, well, hey, I'm going to go to California for vacation.
Like, wow, I haven't been able to take any vacation.
I'm going to go to California
4 years.
And they tell you like, oh, you should go someday.
Yeah.
Or you should why don't you take some vacation? For one, I don't have that kind of vacation available to me. I work a job that doesn't give me unlimited time off. So.
And I think we're all guilty. I know I am. And I try to keep this in front of me at all times. we are all at a different level. From someone that is, not from the United States, third world country, by golly, to have clean drinking water, and that's a luxury that they see all of us having, and we take for granted. More recently, even the terrible, disasters in North Carolina and that region, those people were, for the most part, hardworking people. They were, struggling already in the economy. They lost everything, now living in tents.
Yeah.
How dare we complain about anything that we have? At least, I mean, we jump in our car and go where we want to, and, maybe not have the best day, but it's still a lot better day than they're having right now, so.
Well, again, you have
stair
to,
steps down.
Keep your blessings in perspective and realize you could have it a lot worse. That's my wife routinely tries to, you think it's bad, but it could be worse.
But again, it goes up to the lizard people that's got 14 houses and wearing all this stuff.
If it wasn't for the lizard people keeping me down.
Yeah, right?
I could be rich.
Pesky lizard people.
I'm tired of them.
They need to go. Need to bring them out into the light.
Let's increase this vibration and just get them out of here.
Get some vibrations going. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed a little bit more of this lighthearted episode. I know I've certainly had some fun with it, and I think Bill has as well. We hope that you've enjoyed and maybe learned a few things, and maybe you're asking yourself, am I a lizard person now? I don't know yet.
If you're doubting,
that might be.
You are.
Yes. Own it.
And if you're not doubting, I mean, anybody could be a lizard according to the stuff I read, so you might be anyway.
And according to Bill, if you have red hair, well, you're just doomed.
Blue eyes.
Blue eyes,
weird
red
scars.
Yeah, you're a lizard person.
You can hear well or see well.
Take it from the Nightmares on the Lost Highway, air quote, professionals.
Someone may be a lizard.
Someone
you may be a lizard.
You may be a lizard person.
Run. Look to the skies. Run for your lives.
Thank you so much for listening.
Hey, real quick, call to action. I think Eric would agree. We'd like to grow this Nightmares on the Lost Highway.
Absolutely.
If you could, if you're listening on Apple, if you would go and give us a review and rate us. If you have some feedback, that's fine too. Whatever platform you're listening, follow us, rate us, give us some reviews. That helps get some recognition and gets our name out there.
We do have a Facebook page, Nightmares on the Lost Highway. You can easily find us if you want to communicate with us. If you want to share some possibilities for future podcasts with us, reach out. We want to talk with you guys.
I want to take a time to thank the people that helped bring this all together. Alex Tudor, you can almost call him our producer at this point. Sarah Tudor, who also helps with some of the technical stuff. I want to take a moment to extend thanks to Eric for letting us use his space to record in, kind of our makeshift studio.
I, in turn, would like to thank Bill for, one, putting up with me and using this camaraderie to do something we both very much love and enjoy doing, and thank Bill's family for allowing him to spend all the time to work and clean up our recordings and present them in what you hear in the final terms, the final edition, if you will.
And I'd like to thank all of you for continuing to listen. I know we've got some loyal followers out there. We do this as a labor of love, but we're happy that there are people that enjoy it hopefully as much as we do.
Thank you very much.